All right, Luke, I got a question for you.
Okay. It must be
You're
a
like,
difficult one.
all right, no, you're in a backyard.
Okay.
Okay.
Mine or someone else's?
I don't care.
All right, mine.
A backyard.
Jeez.
A backyard.
We'll say we're in my backyard.
All right, you're in a backyard.
Okay.
Realistically,
Okay.
how many fourth graders do you think you could like fight and win?
Okay, I have a question.
Like, or a better question, like, how many would it take to take you down?
Are they all rushing me at once, or do they come in waves?
Good question.
Because I'm thinking if they come in waves of 5, I can take care of that wave, and then another one. So then it's a matter of how many waves of 5 can I take. Whereas, like, how many in one big pile?
They're not in one pile, but they're all in the backyard.
Okay.
All at the same time.
I have a big backyard,
kind of,
so I can fit a lot.
They're kind of... All right, fine. Your American suburban backyard.
Okay. How many fourth graders can I take in a fight?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 12.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's it?
Listen, I work with kids.
So you have a good understanding of...
No, kids are violent. Like,
well, last year when I did it...
Okay, wait. How... have they been aggravated? Have they been given a reward?
They just know they need to fight you.
Okay.
It's not like they get ice cream at the end of it.
I'll up it to like 15. I think I can do 15.
Okay.
Because you got to think, like, 4th grade is smart enough to, like, they can start working with each other and formulate a strategy.
Okay.
Like, I'm thinking 4th graders will be smart enough to be like, half of you go head on, the rest of us will make a circle. That's not going to go well.
Okay.
With more than about 15.
All right.
Granted, like, one shot each.
Right.
They're done.
Right.
But that's a lot of people.
Okay.
And a lot of people that are faster than me, because let's be honest, Lucas is not a fast person.
Oh, all right.
How many do you think you could fight?
I'm a W.
30?
Yeah.
You have no chance. I love you. You have no chance. Not going to happen. As somebody who works with kids of all ages, not going to happen. That's so many people pulling down on your arms.
I'll move around.
Not 30 of them.
Yeah.
No. We have no way of testing
That's
this.
a full classroom. Yeah, no, I could do it.
We have no way of testing this, so it's not like we're ever going to find out, but I strongly disagree with you.
I'm sticking with 30.
Okay. You're allowed to be wrong. That's fine. My answer is a safe answer. 15 I can do. I'm not 30.
No, I'm saying it would take 30 to take me down.
Okay, so you could beat 29.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
First of all, one's not going to make that big of a difference. Unless it's like...
I don't know, man. I was a pretty mean 4th grader.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, imagine 30 4th grade yous.
Dude, no. Because here's the thing. I'm going to sound really old saying this. They don't make them like they used to.
Well, right. No, kids don't play outside anymore.
Right. Dude, I have the advantage.
By virtue of the fact that they're not all on tablets. Yeah, that's probably true.
Correct.
Either way.
I'm also massive. Like, and I still lift. And yeah.
You're 30 is a lot. That's all I'm going to say.
One
30
for every year I've been alive, man. I can do it.
That was a little sad.
Wow.
I was thinking the other day about the fact that when we met, you were 25 and I was 20. And now I'm 25 and you're 30. It's kind of weird.
What kind of point are you trying to make?
Nothing.
We need to hire a new youth minister?
No.
All right, then. Start making fun of my age, you jerk.
What? Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Valley Bible Studies podcast. So we're going to take a shift, just a teensy-weensy a little bit. And instead of talking about a specific prophet, we're going to talk about a book.
Well, it's still considered one of the major prophets, technically.
Technically.
It was written by...
I can't do it like you.
Technically?
Yeah.
It was written by one of the major prophets, so it gets lumped in with the rest
major
of them.
prophets.
Okay.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about Lamentations. So just to give kind of a brief little, I guess, historical background, Jerusalem's like gone.
It's gone. It's a crater.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Not a crater.
it's not a crater.
There's not much left.
Yeah. They essentially burn it to the ground. And so this is kind of it's right after that. The Babylonians come through, Nebuchadnezzar, and this is in 586 BC.
I think we mentioned this last time when we talked about Jeremiah, who, by the way, wrote Lamentations according to tradition, and probably, yeah, he wrote Lamentations. Technically. So I think we talked about this when we talked about Jeremiah. Jerusalem gets destroyed in 3 waves. 586 BC is the last wave.
That's when it's like all said and done.
Where he like leaves nothing left.
Yeah.
And Lamentations is written in the aftermath of that last conquest.
And so it's basically the perspective of, well, now what?
Right.
You know?
So this is one of the things, this is one of my favorite parts about Lamentations. In the Hebrew Bible, so obviously what we have is translations of all of the original Hebrew books into English. In the Hebrew Bible, some of the names of the books are the same, some of them are different. So like Isaiah is the same in both. Anything that's basically named after a person is pretty much the same in both because it's just named after the person. But some of the others change. Lamentations is one of the ones that change. So Lamentations is an English word that means like things are really sad, right? Like we're expressing our sadness about the situation. The Hebrew name is, in my opinion, even more pointed than the name Lamentations because the Hebrew name for Lamentations is the word how. The Hebrew word that translates like how ? And the idea is, how did we let it get to this point? How did we get so off course that God has totally abandoned the city where, remember, Jerusalem was where the temple was. Jerusalem is where, since the days of Solomon, God has said, my presence is going to be here. And as long as we keep the covenant going, I'm going to abide here in the temple in the Ark of the Covenant. How did we get so off track that he abandoned the city of his special presence?
Well, it's not like he didn't give them warnings.
That's true. Even in that like coronation speech, 1 Kings 8, Solomon, speaking kind of in tandem with God, says, like, when things go badly, please help us. And all the way back in Deuteronomy, God has said, like, if things go badly and you turn to me, I'll help you. If things go badly and you don't turn to me, not going to go well for you. So there's been this standing covenant relationship that's existed for a long, long time.
Yeah.
The Jews have had their chance to reconcile over and over and over and over
it's
again.
Not like this is the first.
That's kind of
the last.
Like Isaiah and Jeremiah are written for the purpose of trying to get them to do that, and they didn't. And
the really cool thing, the way Lamentations is written, right?
Yes.
Very unique, and it's more, so 5 chapters, and they're all kind of poems.
Yes.
You know?
All of the prophets are, most of them are a mixture of narrative and poetry. Lamentations is just straight poetry.
Right. So chapters 1, 2, and 4 are acrostic poems using 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet.
Yes.
Chapter 3 is the really cool one because it's a triple acrostic.
Yes.
Which are 66 verses. Chapter 5 has 22, but it's not an acrostic, so that's the one that stands out, but they're all poetic. So
when you have a series of poems like that, the first thing that jumps off of the page at you is what's different, right? So you have 2 acrostics in a row, and you're thinking, okay, I'm getting into the pattern of this. Chapter 3 throws it off. It's an expansion on the acrostic. So instead of having 1 verse for each of the letters, it has 3. So my question is, why the extra emphasis? And then he goes back to 4. Okay, this is another acrostic like 1 and 2. So 4 is kind of a return to form. And then 5 is the same length, but he totally abandons the acrostic thing. So chapters 3 and chapter 5 jump off the page. What about those 2 chapters is different? And what's different is in chapter 3, he expands his thoughts to include grace and redemption. So in chapters 1 and 2, you get the picture of, like, Jerusalem's dead. Jerusalem's gone. Jerusalem is pictured throughout this book. The most common imagery is of an old woman, even a widow at times. You can parallel that with Ezekiel chapter 16, and we'll talk about Ezekiel next time, but in Ezekiel 16, Jerusalem, kind of Judah as a whole, is pictured as the young woman that God has raised from infancy. So in her prime, in her covenant relationship with God, Judah was a beautiful young woman. Now that she's been abandoned by God because the covenant's been abandoned, she's an old widow with nothing left, right? Chapters 1 and 2 paint that picture. Chapter 3 expands on that picture. He's not totally abandoning the covenant is lost, we're desolate in our own sin. He's not abandoning that, but he does expand on the poetry in order to expand on his picture of God. And the way that he expands it is, even though that's true, there is a hope for redemption in the character of God. Because he says, this is where you get like the most famous quotation from Lamentations is chapter 3, verses 22, 23, 24. Steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They're new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him.
Did you sing the song when you were doing that?
I absolutely did.
Nice.
So, like, that's the expansion, right? He's abandoned us for now, but the nature of God is a nature of redemption. The nature of God is a nature of compassion and mercy that's new every morning. So even though this is bad, there's a possibility of getting better. Right. And then 4 is return to form. So he goes back to 1 and 2. He's not, like, he wrote chapter 3 for a reason, right? So the compassion and the redemption is there, but chapter 4 is a certification of the reality of 1 and 2 is still here. Right? Like, we still have to deal with the consequences of our sin that led to the abandonment of Jerusalem. And then chapter 5, he abandons the acrostic. So again, this is jumping off the page. He's changed the format. Why did he change the format? He changed the format because chapter 5 has a note of finality to it. So there's a chance of redemption in the future, but for this generation living through this situation, this is the final straw. You had your chance. You didn't take it. This is where you're going to be left. Redemption is possible down the line, but 5 abandons the acrostic because he kind of just like puts the period at the end of the sentence and says, this is where we're going to sit.
Yeah. And so, and to give kind of just like an outline, so to speak.
Sure.
You've already pretty much done a pretty decent job of that, but more in the poetic sense. So, like you said, chapter 1 is it's all gone.
Yeah, everything's bad.
They're looking at Jerusalem and they're saying, you know,
kind of like the
she's
shock
gone,
is setting in.
It's devastating, and it's basically them just, I don't want to say crying about it, but
kind of, yeah. I mean, it's called Lamentations, so yeah.
Yeah. And so the desolation. I mean, very first verse: "How lonely sits a city that was full of people." Right? They're looking at it. And they're just mournful. Mm-hmm. They're in complete sorrow. And so you see go ahead.
There's a New Testament tie-in to that in Revelation. So Revelation's tricky. One of the reasons that Revelation is tricky is that John plays on themes from the prophets, but he tweaks them a little bit. And in Revelation chapter 18... it's almost like an answer to Revelation an answer to Lamentations, because in Revelation 18, he's describing the fall of Babylon. Now, it's not the actual city of Babylon. It's a metaphorical, like, Babylon in Revelation is like the world, right? Like whoever the enemies of Christianity are. So he's describing the fall of Babylon, and he uses a lot of the same themes, like the city that was once the center of trade, the city that was once favored by the other cities around it, gone. And what's really eerie about Revelation 18 is he spends all of this time talking about the life that was in the city, and he talks about the sound in the markets and the sound in the temple, and he's going on this theme of sound and words and talking, and then he gets to the end of it and he says, and it's quiet. That's the reality that Jerusalem faces in Lamentations.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that they kind of took ownership of it.
Yeah.
They knew, so we see later in that same chapter, they acknowledge that
this is our fault.
It was because of the sin that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they even point out in verse 18, the Lord is righteous, for I rebelled against his commandment. You're like, well, He told us it was going to happen.
Yeah, he has been saying this for like centuries. So
right. And so sin always brings consequence, and they acknowledge that. You look over in Romans, for all have sinned. Romans, what is that? 3:23.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get into chapter 2, and this is where God's judgment is fully, like, a full on display.
Yeah.
Right. They repeated the emphasis, the Lord. Right. The Babylonians were just the ones that did it.
Yeah.
The gravity of all of this isn't focused around Babylon. It's focused around the fact that they had all the warning, they had all the things that they needed, and they chose not to do them. Right? They chose to sin. Temple was destroyed, walls broken, leaders were humiliated, and from it, the people suffered. Children were starving. Right? Grieving mothers, public devastation.
I just had an epiphany, like
Okay.
sitting here right now.
Go for it.
You said temples destroyed, walls are broken, leaders are
Humiliated. Yeah.
What are the 3 things that come back in Ezra and Nehemiah?
Oh.
Ezra rebuilds the temple, Nehemiah rebuilds the walls, and they rebuild the leadership.
Oh, look at there.
It's almost like the Bible was like planned or something.
It's like divine.
It's like it all fits or whatever.
Yeah. Huh. But anyway, which that is quite the epiphany.
Yeah.
The horror of the siege itself really becomes evident.
Yeah.
Just because of all the horrible things that were going on, right? Everything was just
Lamentations
destroyed.
gets graphic. Like
Yeah.
he does not shy away from the imagery of like this is how bad it got.
Right. And so, but again, they acknowledge that everything happened they were warned. Everything happened exactly how God warned them it was going to happen, right? And a connection to this is that God's judgment is never arbitrary, ever, right? He repeatedly warned Judah, through Moses, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. Like he warned them. You mentioned that earlier. The warnings were there. They knew about them, and they said,
Well, so Jesus says, he's talking to the disciples. I think this is Matthew 10. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it in front of me right now. But he's talking to the disciples about the ways in which they will witness to other people about him later. And he says, don't be afraid of the one who can kill the body, but instead be afraid of the one who can throw both body and soul into hell. That's kind of the ultimate warning, right? And that's kind of like the realization
who's really in charge.
Right. The realization Jeremiah is coming to here is like, yeah, Babylon's bad, but God is judging both our physical and spiritual realities in this situation.
So that kind of takes us to chapter 3. And like you said, chapter 3 is a little different. And a big part of the reason it's different is because there's a little bit of hope that's put in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's hope in the midst of the suffering, right? God still is merciful. Despite the judgment that he put on them, he is still merciful. And so you got the prophet's personal suffering, verses 1 through 20?
Yeah.
Jeremiah talks about the darkness, the affliction, the isolation, right?
And it is interesting that right before he gets to the most clear message of hope in the book is when he narrows it down to himself. Like he's been talking collectively about Judah. Then at the beginning of 3, he says, this is how I have been dealing with this.
And you can see how overwhelmed he is.
Right.
Like of how much he's suffering. Right? He's seeing everybody else suffer, and then he, like you said, he acknowledges his own suffering, and he kind of narrows that down.
Well, so Jeremiah is the one trying to be a witness to God, right? Or witness for God, right? Like he's been preaching for decades, hey, this is where we're headed, and this is where we got. And so when he narrows it down to himself is when the hope comes in. So does the world, broad scope, have hope? Not necessarily, but the ones who are trying to witness for God do.
Well, and what's interesting is that he doesn't wallow in it.
Yes.
He doesn't say there's no, well, I told you so. There's none of that. It's he acknowledges the suffering, he acknowledges that people made their decisions, but then again, like you said, he shows that hope. 22 through 23. Through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed, because his compassions failed not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. That's a different version, obviously, but it's the fact that there is renewal.
Yeah.
If you are faithful, then you can. there can be a change.
Right.
Right? The mercy remains, his faithfulness remains, and he doesn't discipline out of, it's not malicious. It's not out of, anger. It's not out of, he does it out of love.
So I think this is what I appreciate most about Lamentations. That's the center, right? Like the cornerstone that the book is founded on is things are going to be okay eventually. However, Lamentations is Jeremiah giving his grief room to breathe, which I think is important because, yes, as Christians we have joy, as Christians we have peace, we can be okay in every circumstance. Paul talks about this in Philippians 4, right? Philippians 4:13 is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And people take that out of context to mean
we've talked about that.
Then everything's going to be great. No, it's not. He's literally writing from prison. So
it's a different type of strength.
It's a different type of strength. It's a different type of abiding joy.
Mm-hmm.
And part of how you maintain that joy for yourself is you're honest about the ways that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, I have an abiding sense that everything's going to be okay. That doesn't mean that everything isn't terrible right now. Jeremiah gives his grief room to breathe, and because of that, he's able to process through it.
Well, there's 3 steps to it. One, it's acknowledging that, oh, hey, this is our fault.
Yeah.
Right? 2 is kind of what you just said, giving it room to breathe, kind of assessing the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then
the Psalms do a lot of that, too.
Yeah.
There are Psalms entirely about, everything is terrible. And it doesn't come back to a resolution. Everything sucks. But that's part of the grieving process, is being able to acknowledge that and share that feeling with God, because not every prayer is going to be this everything's fantastic. I'm thankful for everything. Some prayers are going to be, why am I in this situation?
Yeah.
But that's part of the processing it with God in your prayer.
Right. And in that process, it leads to the 3rd step, which is the repentance. It's the,
yes.
Okay, well, what do we do now?
Yes.
Right.
Where do we go from here?
It even says, he urges them, let us search out and examine our ways.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the reasons we got here. Let's look at the situation that we're in now because of those reasons. What do we do moving forward?
Yes.
Let's not do those things again. And so he gives that prayer for deliverance, right? Trusting that God's going to hear him, and so that leads us to chapter 4. Right, and what chapter 4 does is we're looking from the contrast of what was to what is.
Yeah.
Right, the glory that Jerusalem was, the glory, the riches, the great things that they had prior, to look at where we're at now. They were wealthy. People respected them. The walls were safe.
Yep.
People felt safe within the city, to where now the gold doesn't matter.
Yep.
Children are starving. And everything's in ruins, and then they also give the cause of judgment. It's the why. The priests, the prophets, the leaders, right? They were corrupt.
There is a lot of emphasis, both in Jeremiah and Lamentations, on the leadership.
Yeah.
I actually talked about this morning. When we're recording this morning, we started a class on leadership in worship for the teen guys. And what I said this morning was, can you decide whether the people in the audience are worshiping properly? No, you can't. Everybody decides in their own heart whether they're going to worship in spirit and truth. You don't decide that for me. I don't decide that for you. At the same time, every time you are the leader in worship, I don't care if you're just doing the scripture reading, right? Whatever you're doing in the worship service, you have the opportunity to make it easier for people to worship God or to make it harder. That's a responsibility, and it's a responsibility that should be taken seriously. And you can expand that out to your entire Christianity. Am I making it easier for my fellow Christians and people who aren't Christians yet to see God, to want to know him better, or am I making it harder?
Yeah.
That's the burden of leadership.
Because if you're self-centered, people are going to see that.
Yeah.
You've seen that. I've seen that.
Yeah.
The people that are up there because they want to be up there.
They want the power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so continuing on, so we're saying, their corruption led to the collapse.
Mm-hmm.
So at least they were a big part of it. And then we get into Edom's warning. All right. The nation of Edom is they're rejoiced over Judah's destruction. God warns Edom that judgment will come upon them as well.
Your time is coming.
You just wait.
Yep. And yours is actually going to be worse because you don't have the covenant relationship with God.
Well, I mean, like you said,
Judah
man,
does.
Leadership carries responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
As a deacon, technically, it's a leadership position, and I'm over a certain thing. But as soon as I start making this about me, I am no longer qualified to be a deacon.
Correct.
And that's I'm about to share something on the podcast out in the public that I've only mentioned
go on.
a few people. That's why I don't want to be an elder right now. That could change in the future because if say I were to become an elder tomorrow, I would change a lot of things, but probably not for the right reasons.
Sure.
I would want to change them because that's how I think they should be.
Yeah.
I would change the structure of things because that's how I think it would be best for everybody. And
it's not about me getting my way.
Correct.
Yep. Which is the hard thing when you're convicted about certain things. Part of spiritual maturity is I am convicted about the things that are ultimately secondary, but I have formed biblically defensible convictions and opinions about all of the matters of the faith. At the same time, part of building spiritual maturity is realizing my personal conviction is not universal declaration from God.
Because I want the church to succeed.
Yes.
I want the people in it to do well. I want them to
be as close to God as you can.
Correct. And that would, again, that is, even as me, just as a Christian, that's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fear that in that kind of leadership role that I would not necessarily forget it, but kind of just move it aside for certain things.
Sure.
And that worries me. That scares me.
But that's ultimately the battle of leadership, regardless of what role you're in, right? It's the balance of being able to take a stand, but also being able to not make it your personal crusade.
Yeah. Are you standing? What are you standing on?
Right.
Yeah.
It's standing on the rock versus standing on sand.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So moving on, that's what leads us to chapter 5. They're looking for some way out.
Yeah.
They're looking for God's redemption,
and there isn't one.
No.
I mean, there is one in the long run,
but not right there.
Not in this generation.
Yeah,
this generation's done.
It's one of the goodness.
No,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just
that's how it ends, and it's supposed to be like a because this is the period at the end of the sentence for you. You had your chance. Sorry.
Yeah. Goodness.
Right.
It's
called Lamentations.
I know.
It's gonna not be happy.
The end. We don't see the end.
True.
They were warned about the end.
True.
We're kind of warned about the end.
Mm-hmm.
We know what that's going to look like.
That's we just
don't know when.
One of the comforting things about being a person of faith is realizing, even if it's not me, because it's not me, but even though it's not me, there's somebody who sees the bigger picture. There's somebody who sees the whole scope of history beginning to end, which is one of the many, many, many reasons that he is worth putting your faith in.
Yeah.
Because he can actually see, this is how it all turns out.
Well, the book itself ends with both sorrow and hope.
Yes.
So in 5:19, you, O Lord, remain forever. Your throne from generation to generation. Jerusalem may be destroyed, the temple may be gone, the nation may be shattered, but God still reigns.
The overthrow of Jerusalem is not the overthrow of God.
Correct. This is actually what I wrote down. The final focus is not on Jerusalem, but on God's throne.
Yeah.
This anticipates the hope found in Christ's kingdom, Christ's resurrection, and God's eternal reign.
Mm-hmm.
A Christian's hope is never in earthly institutions, but it's in God's unchanging rule. The judgment that he had then is the same judgment he's going to have. It's the same, God has not changed, right? some of the ways that we get to live have changed dramatically, right? Some of the ways that he carries out that execution has changed dramatically. But the same promise is there.
Yeah.
The same judgment is there.
This might be an odd last place to go, but this is where my mind is going in this last moment, like at the end of Lamentations. It's the women who show up to bury Jesus. Because at the end of his ministry, obviously, he's crucified. And what you could do is say, well, so much for that, and pack up your stuff and go home. They don't do that. Joseph of Arimathea doesn't do that. The guy who, secures a burial plot for him and comes to, anoint him for burial, right? They acknowledge, hey, this is awful. This is quite literally the worst thing that could have possibly happened ever. But God's still in control. And even though they didn't know exactly what that looked like, he had told them he was going to rise from the dead, but I'm convinced that nobody really understood that, or at least took it at face value until it happened. I think that's the sense that the Gospels communicate. But anyway, even though they didn't see the detailed picture of this is how he's going to still be in control, they still showed up even after he was dead to honor him in his burial. And that's kind of where the people are left at the end of Lamentations. Jerusalem's gone, the city of God's presence is gone, but God's still God. So the challenge there is, even when everything in my life looks upended, am I going to maintain my faith in God, knowing that at the end of it, I can't see the way in which he's in control, and I can't see the ways in which he's going to manifest that to me, but he is. And my faith is stronger than the situations that I find myself in, even when they look really, really, really bad.
I'll end with just this. That's an excellent thought. I've always applied this to just about everything. Most frequently with football as a coach, but control what you can control. Mm-hmm. Right? I can't control what the United States government's going to do. I can't control what other governing powers are going to do. I can't control what you're going to do. I can control my actions. I can control the things that I think. I can control the things that I say.
The example that you set.
I can control those things. How people react to them, that's completely up to them.
Yep.
But I am...
Jesus was the best example, and people hated him.
Yeah.
Walked away from him.
But who I am and what I do is only controlled through me. The choices that I make are completely up to me. Mm-hmm. Whether I serve God or whether I expel him from my life is a decision that I make. Yep. No external factors can actually make those decisions for you. They can push you, they can sway you, but ultimately, that's your choice.
Yep.
They made their choices. They made their bed. God said, go lay in it.
Yep.
So,
but that doesn't invalidate his faithfulness either.
No. It never went away. And it's never going to.
Mercies are new every morning.
Yep. What a good spot.
Lamentation is fantastic. It's sad, but it's fantastic.
I don't know if fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic, but it's a sad read.
It's fantastic for the people of God who know it's going to be okay.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well,
Ezekiel next.
Hey.
Ezekiel's weird.
Yeah. We'll get there. We have camp coming up. And so that's 2 weeks. It's the week of Father's Day.
Yeah.
So whenever you're listening to this, it's the week of Father's Day. Both of us will be there. We're both really looking forward to it. If you're affiliated with VCC in any way,
hey,
look forward to it. We're gonna have fun. If you're not, well, that's on you.
Hey.
But regardless, thank you so much for being with us this episode, and we look forward to seeing you again.